I the a-hole for not inviting my friend to my wedding after she disinvited me from her ceremony even though I made a cake? My 31 female friend 33 female got married in fall 2019 at her family home in a small ceremony because her now husband had to leave the country for a year for work. I ended up making her a cake for it, and no, I wasn't invited because they wanted it to be small. She insisted, said she'd invite me to the actual ceremony, which took place last weekend. She asked me if I could do the wedding cake for that too, and I agreed, as I am a professional decorator as a side job. Yes, she paid me. This conversation happened in August 2019. I got the official invite to her wedding January 2021. Between that August convo and now, I met my now fiancé 35 male, and we got engaged back in December 2020. I messaged my friend in January and said I was unable to do the cake as I moved 30 minutes away to live with him, and I had a small car at the time, so I couldn't deliver anymore and she didn't want to pick it up. A couple months later, I received a letter disinviting me from the ceremony citing health restrictions. These were lifted for weddings before this letter was sent out. I was a bit miffed because I feel I was only invited because I offered to do the cake and no longer could, but said nothing until this morning. FYI, I did not receive any money for this cake at all. She posted some wedding photos online and I liked one. She then called me seconds later and asked when to expect the invite to my wedding, to which I told her she wasn't invited, explaining the issue with the cake and me being disinvited from her wedding. She said I was taking it personally when it was about inviting close and essential people only, while also being safe. I asked her would I have still been invited if I had done the cake, and she said that's not relevant and called me vindictive. I told her it was relevant, and that I was disinvited because I no longer served a purpose to her. She got mad and said I was being petty, but I don't think I am. My fiancé and family agree with me, but some friends say I sound bitter. So, am I the a-hole for not inviting her to my wedding? Edit. Her wedding had 150 people. I got the invite in January, not February. I did not refuse to make a cake a month before. I told her in January, and she got married in June. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If you aren't close and essential enough to attend either for ceremonies, why would she expect to be so for your wedding? Yeah. If Opie was so important as to not make the cut out of 150 guests, then it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who the vindictive one is. Opie also didn't do something as tacky as her friend in inviting her. That was a low blow, especially citing health reasons when you have a guest list of 150 people. Had already had the person bake one cake for a ceremony they weren't invited to, then suddenly have concerns after they couldn't bake another cake for you. Either she was straight up using Opie for her mad baking skills in the first place, or was that vindictive simply because Opie could no longer do this huge favor. Either way, Opie is not the a-hole for not wanting the woman at her wedding. Friend, no cake, no invite. Opie, no invite, no invite. Friend, shocked Pikachu face. Not the a-hole, Opie. Not the a-hole. She wanted her cake, and when you didn't make it, she had no use for you anymore and threw you out. She can call you vindictive or petty all she wants. She's the one that disinvited you because you didn't make her a cake. She's not a friend. I was on the fence because if someone feels they need a small group for health reasons, that's a fair decision for them. But 150 guests? Yeah, it was about the cake. She isn't Opie's friend and is not owed anything. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your wedding, you invite who you want. In fact, she had planned for 150 people at her wedding and disinvited you as pathetic. 150 is not a small wedding. Did anyone else or any other friends get the same letter? Right? I had a bit less than that at my wedding that was back in 2011, pre-COVID. And that was inviting pretty much all our family and close friends plus some family friends. So inviting 150 people citing health concerns and Opie not making the cut says to me this friend doesn't consider Opie a close friend anyways. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for declining to pay for / approve of one daughter's wedding just after my other daughter's divorce? I, 57 male, have two daughters, 31 and 28. My younger daughter was married to a young man she had been with since high school. They married 3 years ago, and I was able to pay for a beautiful wedding. No issues. Unfortunately, their relationship did not survive the pressures of the pandemic, And 4 months ago, my younger daughter announced to us that they had split. We were all heartbroken, and it was very hard on my younger daughter. 2 weeks ago, my older daughter announced she was engaged to a guy she has been seeing for several years. I have nothing against her fiancé as he's a nice guy, although I don't know him well, and I want her to be happy. However, I feel as though her announcing her engagement was very insensitive in light of her sister's recent divorce, and I do not want to have another big family wedding right now as her sister is still dealing with the end of her marriage. I have also had to spend money on her divorce. I told my daughter that I could not in good conscience pay for her wedding now. I had planned to pay for both girls, and she should wait for a few years until our family was in a better place. My older daughter said she and her boyfriend were looking to start a family and wanted to be married. When I said I wouldn't pay, she said, "Do whatever you want," very immaturely and sullenly, and I haven't heard from her since. I am not trying to get in the way of their family planning, as I would not judge if they had a child prior to marriage. I'm just looking to be sensitive and save face for my family. However, my older daughter told some other family what happened, and they say I'm being an A, although I think she's leaving things out of context. Am I the a-hole in this situation? You're the a-hole. It's ridiculously inappropriate to expect one sibling to postpone marriage for years due to a sibling's divorce. But this is so ridiculous, I have a hard time believing it's for real. It's right there in Opie's post. Save face for the family. That's always a good motivator to make the wrong choice. You're the a-hole. So you're going to punish one daughter for the issues another is having in her own life? Just admit you like one daughter more than the other. Father of the year right here. Being very sarcastic. Good job proving to your oldest that you really only care for the youngest. I can't believe you had the nerve to say she should wait to be happy. You're the a-hole. Plus, he paid for the younger's wedding and divorce, but refused to pay for the older to save face, which then backfired. Opie, don't expect to get an invite to her wedding or have a relationship with any future grandkids. Yes, absolutely you're the a-hole, for a number of reasons. First of all, well, you're not an a-hole for this, but why are you paying for your daughter's divorce? Second, the fact that you're willing to pay for both the younger one's wedding and divorce but not for the others is completely unbalanced regardless of the circumstances. As one of two siblings, I can only imagine the frustration. Third, asking her to put her and her fiancé's life on hold for years is a ridiculous ask. And not just because they want to potentially have a baby and start a family, though while I'm on the subject, saying, "Well, I won't judge" is hardly helpful. Fourth, it wasn't there obviously, but to sullenly say, "Do whatever you want" in response to finding out you won't pay for her wedding too, is a lot less petty than she could have been. Again, it wasn't there, but it reads like a pretty reasonable response. I imagine that she was incredibly disappointed in that moment. And finally, her timing in announcing may have been inconsiderate. I don't know the dynamics at play. But it's not your place to be the sole protector of your other daughter's feelings. They're both adults, and if the younger one feels uncomfortable, then it's the two of them that need to have a conversation. They're not kids now. It's not your place to hold all the cards and impose your will in such major life decisions. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for being honest with my boyfriend's mom when she asked if I was enjoying her wedding? I've been with my boyfriend Alex for 2 years. I get along okay with his mom Jane, but sometimes she is a bit of a just no mother-in-law. Anyway, she got married recently. They wanted a smaller, more laid-back wedding because she did the traditional wedding the first time. They got married in a vineyard and it was really nice. For dinner there was fancy brick oven pizza and salad, and later there was a mac and cheese bar. Dessert was caramel brownie cheesecake or berry cobblers. I hate cobbler. You probably caught on that there was a lot of cheese. There were also charcuterie boards, so a whole ton of cheese. Don't get me wrong, I like non-traditional weddings, and the food was out of this world. But after dessert, I was on the verge of crapping myself. I went to the bathroom, feeling like I was going to die, and it wasn't pretty. The groom's two daughters, late teens and early 20s, were in there. They're both horrible. They have talked so much crap about Jane, and are just mean girls. When I came out, they were both snickering and looking at me. I was mortified. I ended up in there again, because holy hell, that woman likes cheese. Later, I went over to where she was sitting with her new husband, and Jane asked if I was having fun. I said it was beautiful, but admitted I'd been in agony because of her menu, And she really should have had some more balanced options, because a lot of people are dairy sensitive. I then told the groom about what happened with his daughters. He just looked at me weird, and then said it was his wedding night, and he doesn't want to hear an account of anyone crapping. My boyfriend got annoyed, and said I should have just lied, because you don't complain to the couple at the wedding. But I feel like she should know for future parties, and he should know so he can talk to his daughters. Jane is on her honeymoon, so I don't know if she's mad. She didn't seem it, but a couple of my friends said I'm the a-hole and it isn't Jane's problem. Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Jesus, dude. Nobody made you eat all that dairy, and no one cares if you hate cobbler. Yeah, the cobbler comment got me too. It's like she expects their wedding menu to be tailored to her. I bet either the bride or groom likes cobbler a lot. But either way, they had 2 desserts in case people disliked one option. A lot of weddings just have cake. She's treating the wedding as a dining experience, the happy couple as service providers, and herself as a customer who's expecting her money's worth. You're the a-hole. A tactless a-hole. There was no reason for you to spoil their night. You could have said it was lovely and kept your opinion on the menu to yourself. If you thought what the girls were saying needed to be addressed, you could have easily sent an email in the following days. Also, if you know you were dairy sensitive, then why did you eat so much cheese in the first place? Opie's definitely one of the people who consider themselves honest/real, but in reality are just rude, tactless a-holes. I wonder why she doesn't have that great of a relationship with her mother-in-law. Lol. You're the a-hole. None of what you said was necessary. Firstly, nobody made you eat any of this. You know what your dietary restrictions are and should be well aware of your dairy limit. You probably should have had more salad and crackers and less pizza. Secondly, to go to the bride or groom and let them know anyone was talking crap was just crass. Pretty sure it's basic wedding etiquette to not bring up unnecessary drama to bride and groom during the wedding. Thirdly, you think she doesn't know what her stepdaughters say about her? You think he doesn't know? This isn't some grand revelation you made that needed to be shared right that damn moment. You're being a just no daughter-in-law. Last story. Am I the a-hole for announcing my pregnancy at my sister-in-law's engagement party? My fiancé, male 29, and I, female 29, have been trying to get pregnant for a while, and we did it. I'm now 2 months pregnant. We did not announce it to our family because I want to tell my mom first in person, and she does not live in the same city as me, and I'm planning to visit her end of July. Last weekend, I was at my sister-in-law's 23 engagement party. We don't really get along. Nothing major, just we have nothing to talk about, and I think she finds me weird. She got engaged, and because COVID restrictions have been mostly lifted where I live, we have a party at an outdoor restaurant. The party was going well, and obviously I was not drinking. I'm not a big drinker, so it's not completely strange for me not to drink, and nobody was taking notice. The problem arrived when my mother-in-law gave me a glass of my favorite sparkling wine. I knew she bought it just for me, so I could not really say no without looking strange. At first, I thought of saying that I was the designated driver, but I hate driving, and everyone knows it. I am not a good liar, so I kind of just turned red. My mother-in-law suddenly had understanding in her eyes, and before I could stop her, she said, "Oh my God, are you pregnant?" Everyone turned towards us, and from that moment on, the party was no longer about my sister-in-law's engagements but the first baby in the family. My fiancé was happy to talk about it because he told me after that he really wanted his mom to know and was sad to keep it from her. Then my mother-in-law started talking about baby names. My sister-in-law looked really angry and was throwing dark looks at me the rest of the meal. Edit. I understand that even though I did not mean it, I was the a-hole. Even before posting, I had apologized, but I will try to do more. For the questions, I never said I never drink, just that I am not a heavy drinker. Because of that, it is not rare for me to not drink at an evening. I could spend whole parties only with iced tea. Basically, I like the type of sparkling wine, but that's it. I thought that it would not be strange for me not to drink, and that's why I was not prepared to lie. Congratulations, you made your sister-in-law's engagement party all about you. Of course you're the a-hole. There's plenty of reasons not to drink. You can say you're taking antibiotics for a toothache. You're on a diet, whatever. All she had to do was graciously accept the drink, and then secretly pour it out, excuse herself to the bathroom and pour it out, or any number of other things. I do have a sneaking suspicion that she put on the act deliberately so that someone would guess. You're the a-hole. I would have just taken the glass, then walk off like I wanted to talk to someone else, then found some way to discreetly drain it. I just get a feeling you didn't try as hard as you might have for someone you actually liked. Yep. The details about a future sister-in-law not liking her seemed like attempted justification. Yep. My hubs and I even had a system for this when we weren't ready to announce yet. I would go up to him and say, "Oh my gosh, you would love this," and he'd take a big drink. And I would then get to walk around with a half-full drink, and everyone just assumed they had drank it. Bonus. No one then tried to give me another drink, as I clearly had one already. Props to him, his taste is much different than mine, but he did it anyway. Take a big drink and cheerfully say, "Nope, that's awful." You're the a-hole. You knew there would be alcohol there, so you had time to come up with an excuse not to drink. Say, "No thanks, upset stomach," or "Can't, doctor's orders." This bit is true. And let your spouse cover with a white lie she's on antibiotics. Instead, you played coy until she guessed. Then when you confirmed it, you knew sister-in-law was upset, but you let mother-in-law go on about baby names. You or husband relished the attention when you could have easily stood up and say, "Hey, I know you guys are excited, but there will be lots of time to celebrate. We are here for sister-in-law and her fiancé's engagement, and we want to direct the focus to that. I'm so happy for these two getting married, and a lot of planning went into this dinner, so please respect that." So you and your spouse are a-holes for letting it out, and then making no moves to shut down the attention. She absolutely could have directed the attention back to sister-in-law and her fiancé even after mother-in-law made the announcement. Her sister-in-law likely would have been miffed, and rightfully so. But now I'm sure she's enraged, and if you weren't married to her brother, I doubt you would be invited to the wedding. I'm not a a-hole for what I told my 25 female pregnant sister, 16 female. For background information, I am the oldest of my 3 siblings. The one this centers around is the youngest, Anna. I am the one who takes care of my siblings, and I still do to this day. Our father is a deadbeat, and our mother is a bad person and never took care of us. I can't get into all of it due to the rules, but she was never meant to be a parent. And so, I've always taken care of myself. And when I was 6, my brothers were born and they became my responsibility. And then later, Anna was born. I've done my best to take care of them, but I was just a kid. So, of course, none of us grew up as we should have. Because of this, Anna in particular got into doing things she shouldn't. Again, I can't get into it all due to rules, but given the situation I'm in here, I think you can guess. Well, now, she's found out she's pregnant. My first suggestion was termination, and she absolutely lost it. She went on about how awful I was for even suggesting it, and how she'd never let me near the kid, etc. And so I told her that if she had this kid, I would not support her mentally, physically, financially, or emotionally. I will not calm the kid in the middle of the night. I won't change its diapers. I won't pay for the medical appointment. I won't buy formula, nor make it or feed a kid, or absolutely anything else. It is her responsibility to get a job and get the money to take care of it. And of course, while I won't tell her this, I won't let the kid starve or go without basic needs. If she can't afford food, I will buy it because it isn't fair to the kid. But regardless, I told her I already had to raise 3 kids that weren't mine. For 19 years, I've taken care of the family and I will not raise another kid. Furthermore, Anna is high-risk pregnancy. We have bad health issues in our family, including high blood pressure, PCOS, diabetes, etc. There's even a small chance she won't survive the birth. Before our fight, she told me if it happens, she wants me to take the kid. We don't have any other family. Not our mom, dad, no aunts, no uncles, nothing. And so I told her if it happened, I'm not keeping the kid and it is going to the system. She's now extremely angry with me, but I'm done. She admitted that she wanted to get pregnant. I know she's going to have a hard time with the kid in pregnancy, but I've raised 3 kids, and I'm not even a mom. I'm done. I didn't make her do this, but despite this, I feel like I've been too cruel to her. I know my words were harsh, but my mind can't decide if it was excessively harsh or if it was the harsh words she needed to hear. So I figured, why not? I'll make a post on this subreddit that I've seen so often. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She's clearly not ready for a child, but ultimately that is her decision to make. However, she should be fully prepared to raise that child on her own, and her expecting you to do it is totally unfair. Lay it down for her and tell her what it's going to be like. Beyond that, it's up to her. Just know that you're a wonderful sister for taking care of her for so long, and for losing a large part of your childhood by forcing yourself to be a parental figure when you yourself probably weren't ready. Edit. I want to clarify that I absolutely empathize with Opie's younger sister. And I'm sure Opie does too, obviously. 16 and pregnant is tough, especially alone, and I could not even imagine. Opie's sister is very frankly still a child, and is now going to be confronted with some very adult and life-changing decisions. And all Opie can do is do her best to impart her experiences and wisdom onto sister, and hope she makes the right decision. And a part of that is making sure sister is entirely clear on the extent of which Opie can and will be involved. Support systems in raising children are absolutely important, and sister needs to know exactly what her support system is before she decides whether or not to have the child. I don't blame her for wanting Opie to help, but ultimately she needs to be able to live with the fact that Opie won't be as involved as she likes. Knowing all of that, if she still wants to have the child, then that's her decision to make. I just want Opie to also know that this isn't her fault, and she's not obligated to do more than what she can or wants to. Not the a-hole at all. Seriously, she shouldn't have had a kid under the expectation you'd raise it. Let's be honest here, that was what she was banking on. And to be honest, I say boot her if you're legally able to. If you let her stay, you will end up raising a fourth child you don't want. I know it's hard, I know it's painful, but you're just going to enable her more at this rate. Right now, it's just one more kid, but then it's another. And then more issues, etc, etc. If she thinks she's mature enough to have a kid, she should be able to handle her own life with it without someone else's support. Also, she doesn't get to say, I won't let you near the baby, and then expect help. End of story. Best of luck, Opie. I hope things work out for you. Make sure to take care for yourself and hold strong. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be around my girlfriend's little sister and causing a rift in the family? I met my girlfriend when we were 11. We were on the same basketball team, so I met her family at the games. Her sister Sammy was 8 back then, and I guess her family used to like teasing that she has a little crush on me, and she'd get all shy whenever I hung out with them. They made jokes about me being her little boyfriend. Then we got together when we were 13. So the whole Sammy crushing on me got more obvious. Everyone in her family says it's cute. Sometimes Sammy would come with us to the movies, and I'd buy them stuff. Whenever I go with her family anywhere, Sammy always wants to sit next to me or on my lap. Never said anything back then since she was a little kid and didn't mean anything. Now she's 15 and feel like the crush has got worse, to a point where it is awkward and uncomfortable for me. She doesn't hide that she gets jealous of my girlfriend, or when I'm at other place, she's like glued to me. Gets mad if we want to be alone in my girlfriend's room. Wants to go with us wherever we go. Everyone always treated it like Sammy being herself. But now, it makes me super uncomfortable at her wanting to be all over me sometimes, and I purposely sit somewhere she won't have space to be near me. We just learned recently that my girlfriend is pregnant, and we moved into our own place to get ready for our baby. Sammy straight up lost it when we told our families we're pregnant. I'm serious. She locked herself in the bathroom crying for an hour, yelling that she hates everyone. So yeah, with her reaction, I want to be around her even less. I told my girlfriend how I've been feeling uncomfortable with her sister for a long time, and I should have said all this sooner. My girl apologized because she always thought I was okay with some of the crap her sister does, but says I don't have to interact with her if I don't want to. She also talked to her family about getting Sammy to start respecting my boundaries and let it go with the boyfriend jokes already. They don't think Sammy's doing anything wrong since the crush is innocent, so they pretty much don't want to tell her to keep some distance from me when we come over. Her parents started coming at me to stop making a big deal and punishing Sammy for how she feels. I showed my girlfriend a text they sent me, and she got pissed. So now, she won't go either until they start getting her Sammy to behave right around me. But they won't do that. Now the whole family's attacking us, especially my girlfriend, and it's making me feel guilty. They're saying I'm terrible for ruining things between my girlfriend and them. They don't get why I'm being this way. My girlfriend is so mad she don't want to talk to them. They're saying it's my fault. Am I the a-hole for starting this whole thing by not wanting to be around Sammy anymore? Not the a-hole. They let this inappropriate behavior go on way too long and encouraged it by not doing anything and repeatedly saying you were Sammy's boyfriend. WTF? Family and Sammy are very in the wrong here. I agree. She's 15. That's too old to be acting this inappropriate. She's not far off adulthood and needs to learn how to handle relationships, rejection, and everything in between. She's not been taught the right boundaries though. I feel sorry for her. But the family are absolutely in the wrong here. OP perhaps arranged to have a chat with you, your girlfriend and Sammy without the family present, to explain new boundaries in a kind way. She won't be happy about it, but it'll help everyone's relationship in the future. Not the a-hole. Bro, good job saying something. Your girl doesn't find that weird? They're sisters, right? Yeah, but I guess cause she was used to her sister's personality, and it's been happening for years already. Like, she knows about her crush cause it's super obvious, but didn't realize it was making me feel very uncomfortable. Not the a-hole. Please go very low contact with her family until the baby is born. This should be a special time for you both, and your girlfriend really doesn't need the added pressure during her pregnancy. I hope you two don't live with them. If you do, move out ASAP. Sammy's crush may have started out innocently, but it shouldn't have been allowed to go into this very unhealthy phase. Sammy is a teenager bursting with hormones and crazy thoughts. I really hope she doesn't hurt herself over this. Nah, we moved out once we knew she was pregnant. Moving in together was something we were going to do anyways. We told them like a month after. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my friend that I don't need her stupid parenting advice because she doesn't have kids, by choice, and she doesn't know what it's like to be a mom? She, 26 female, doesn't have kids because she doesn't want to, but she loves to tell other people what to do with theirs, and most of them ignore her, but I, 23 female, can't. I swear I try because I love her, and I don't want to hurt her feelings, but I'm getting tired of her attitude and I can't just ignore her. I've been dealing with people like her since my first daughter, 6 female, was born. I had her when I was 17, and at the time, I used to do what everyone told me because I was really young and also a first-time mom, but now I'm an adult and I'm tired of people telling me how to parent my kids. I gave birth to my second daughter almost 2 weeks ago, and my husband, 31 male, and I decided not to pierce her ears. Because even if it sounds silly, we don't like the idea of causing her pain for something she didn't ask to have. In this case, earrings. And this friend thinks it's stupid because she thinks that if I pierce her ears now, she won't feel so much pain. Honestly, I don't even know where she got that from. And that if we wait until she can decide like how we did it with her sister, then she will suffer like her. She said that because when my oldest daughter was born, my husband and I decided not to pierce her ears either. She got her ears pierced a few weeks ago for her 6th birthday because she wanted to. And it's true that it hurt, but now she's fine. And I told my friend that, but she said that my husband and I are really selfish because we know that waiting hurts our oldest daughter. And that now we want to repeat history just because we want to be cool parents who let their kids do what they want. And that's not true. I tried really hard to ignore her. But then when my husband came home, my friend was at our house with our daughter from school, and she saw that my husband had bought her a doll just because she was jealous of the gifts her little sister has been receiving, said that we are raising her like those spoiled girls who when they grow up end up being a pain in the butt. That we have to stop trying to be cool parents and start being real parents, because otherwise at 10 she will do whatever she wants. And I was dealing with a crying baby and a 6-year-old who was trying to get all my attention to tell me what she did at school, and I was exhausted. So I told my friend to stop, and she was like, no, but you both need to stop being so permissive, blah blah blah. And I told her that I'm tired of her trying to tell me what to do when she doesn't even have a child. and has no intention of having one, that I don't need her stupid advice because she has no idea how hard it is to raise a child. Then she said that she knows how difficult it is because her sister has 5 kids, and that I'm acting like a stubborn kid who can't take advice, that she's just trying to help me and that I don't appreciate her help. Am I the a-hole for reacting that way? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She's really quite annoying. Her not suggestions, but very harsh judgments. I'd get annoyed too. And, actually, the fact she has not children is just tangential. I guess she would be obnoxious even if she had a pair. Not the a-hole, based on the fact that she thinks babies don't feel pain. All the other stuff too, but she's an idiot. Not the a-hole. To be honest, I'm a firm believer of not piercing babies' ears, as I find it cruel to put an infant in unnecessary pain for an accessory. Plus, they may not even want them when they get a bit older. My parents waited until I asked when I was 11. Plus, when they're older, you're also able to teach them how to take care of their piercings. Every parent has a different parenting style, and don't let anyone tell you yours is wrong. Congrats on the newest addition to your family. Not the a-hole. Most people just instinctively know not to stick their noses into other people's parenting. Your friend doesn't. And even after you spell it out for her, she still thinks she's in the right. If "booger off, my kids and my life aren't your business" doesn't get the message across, it may be time to reevaluate how valuable this friendship is to your life. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my brother and sister-in-law to give me back clothes that I gave them for their son? I, 25 female, and my husband, 31 male, have 2 kids, 3 female and 1 male. Both of my kids have always been dressed in boutique clothing or higher-end clothing. Most outfits cost $30+ per kid that they wear, not including shoes and bows for my daughter. I buy them these because I like them and can afford it. And catching the drops of these shops has become a weird hobby for my husband and I. He gets excited when he scores something I wanted for the kids if I missed it. Lol. My brother, 22 male, and sister-in-law, female 20, had a son in September 2020 and have told me how much they love the outfits my son wore and how they wished they could afford to dress their son in boutique clothing. I sometimes buy him outfits, but the clothing I like is limited and you have to really be quick to purchase what you like. So obviously, I put getting my kids what I like first before getting things for their son. I thought we were done having kids. Last October, 2020, we moved to a different state than my brother and sister-in-law, so I decided to go through and give them all of my son's old clothes, except for anything with his name on it. It was 2 packed full totes of clothing. We recently found out that I'm pregnant again and we're having a boy. So I asked sister-in-law for just a few specific outfits. I don't need the entire 2 totes of clothing back. She said she would sell them to me as she's seen them go for almost double on the resale pages than what I paid in retail at their original drops. I paid $40 for one outfit and she's apparently seen it sold for $70 because the print wasn't brought back this year. She offered for me to pay $55 instead of $70. She doesn't even have these items listed online. She just wants me to buy them back from her. I literally laughed at her and absolutely refused and got off the phone with her. My brother called me later that night and told me I embarrassed her for laughing at her for saying she'd sell them to me. He said I poor shamed them, which I didn't. I didn't say a single thing about their or my finances or the cost or even bring up money at all. He said they've been really tight on money because they're trying to save and buy a house. They live with my parents rent-free, and that's why she was offering to sell them to me. He told me I was being an a-hole for even asking for the clothes in the first place when I know they hold value. And I know my brother is the only one working. I thought it was absurd that they'd call me a-hole like that, but my mom thinks I should have just left them alone. Because apparently, sister-in-law is dealing with a lot of PPD, and I know how bad PPD is, and how small things like that can make it worse. And now I feel like I should apologize. Not the a-hole, but let this be a lesson to not help them out anymore. They didn't even need clothes in the first place. They had a baby shower with more than 50 people there. They got more items for their one kid than what you'd find at Target. I gave them the clothes because they liked them, and my son didn't fit in them anymore. Not the a-hole. It doesn't matter if those clothes were high-end or bought from Goodwill. They belong to you, and you Generously gave them to your brother and sister-in-law when you easily could have sold them. You only asked for a few things back and your sister-in-law had the nerve to try and sell them to you? That's ridiculous. And if you still live in the same state, I go over and get all the clothes back. Your brother and sister-in-law are super entitled. I'm actually going to visit them this week. Lol. My sister said I shouldn't have even said anything and just gone through the totes and got the few I wanted and just told her I was taking them. I wouldn't have felt right doing that, but your comment made me think of her comment. Everyone sucks here. We'll probably get downvoted, but you gave those clothes to your brother and sister-in-law because you thought you weren't having another baby. Unless you told them you wanted them back, you really can't reclaim something that was a gift. That's a dick move. But your sister-in-law is also an a-hole for trying to resell them to you. It's not like she was the one who bought them. You weren't poor shaming them either. Actually, I wouldn't have even been mad if she said no. I was just shocked that she wanted me to buy them back. Am I the a-hole for refusing to stop seeing my granddaughter despite my son's wishes? My son 40 is what people call a ladies' man. I had a problem with it. Until last year when he got a girl 20 pregnant because he said that rubbers don't work for him, so they had unprotected sessions. When he found out about the baby, he blocked the mom and ghosted her for a month. He came to tell me about it once his baby's mom reached out again, saying that he didn't have to care for the baby, but that he had to pay child support. I was shocked and told him that he could either step up or not, but that I would have a relationship with the child because it is my only grandchild. He chooses to not step up and try to fight child support. But a month ago, he was placed on it. Now that my granddaughter Lily is born, I have been helping pay for everything because her mom is in college, and my son quit his job so his payments would go down. I am very disappointed in him. I watch Lily during her mom's classes, and pay for her to have a nanny so the mom can work hard to get her degree. Money is no problem for my family, but my son is very angry that I'm helping them out. He says that they should not get my money, and that if the mom needed help, then she should have gotten rid of the baby. I told him that I will continue to help them because my granddaughter is innocent in this, and that he was the one who refused to wear a protection so they should not have their lives ruined. He said that it is either him or them, and I said that I would always help my granddaughter. He has stopped talking to me, and my daughter said that I went too far, and that I should just cut ties with them. Am I the a-hole for helping them against my son's wishes? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but your son is a giant a-hole. He is entitled and selfish, and frankly creepy that at 40 he knocked up a 20-year-old. He needs to grow up. I would disinherit him in a heartbeat. Write a will that cannot be challenged and make sure to get an attestation from a medical professional stating you were sound of mind when the will was drafted. But leave him enough money for a box of rubbers. Wait, he's 40 and she's 20? Have you had a second to digest that truth? Good riddance. Let him be a spoiled, disgusting individual. You are doing the right thing. A 40-year-old who quit his job so the 20-year-old he got pregnant by refusing to wear rubbers gets zero money to raise his child. Makes my stomach hurt reading that. I would give your son zero money from here on out, Opie. Not the a-hole. He said that rubbers don't work for him. Your son is an a-hole, and probably a walking STI vector. When he found out about the baby, he blocked the mom and ghosted her for a month. Seriously, he's just awful. You must be ashamed of him on many levels. You sound like an amazing woman, grandmother, and general person. Bluntly, your son's wishes don't mean anything. Your son's opinions about who cares for his child stopped being relevant a long time ago. I realize he's a grown man and his own master, but he needs to remember that you're a grown woman and your own master. Honestly, I'd be no contact with him over this kind of thing. There's something broken within him. He needs a serious attitude adjustment. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole for refusing to stop supporting your granddaughter's mother. On the other hand, you do bear some responsibility for raising this absolute sluggard. The fact that Opie admitted to brushing aside his behavior in the past because he is a ladies' man? Only when the behavior became grotesque, Opie realized that son is bad. How many lesser evils has Opie brushed under the carpet in her son's upbringing? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making my daughter sleep in the backyard after what she did to our housemaid? My male 46 daughter 16 is a high school junior. I noticed recently that she's been behaving in a bad manner, constantly commenting on other people's looks, belongings, calling them stuff that isn't cool, and just being insensitive. It's like she lost a filter or something, because usually she's polite. But my wife suspected that our daughter's sudden misbehavior occurred after she started hanging out with the new girls from the school. Basically, the mean type and have picked on their behavior. I've sat my daughter and had many discussions about how her behavior has been negatively affecting everyone around her. Our housemate is the person most affected here, and my daughter has chosen her to be her target for hair/clothes/etiquette criticisms. She has complained about our daughter calling her offensive names, like filthy and gross for cleaning certain areas in our house. I took a stand and explicitly told my daughter I'd punish her if she ever said stuff like that to our housemate again. Last week, my daughter had a party to go to, but earlier that day she called our housemaid filthy, so I grounded her by not letting her go to the party. She threw a fit and called our housemaid a liar, saying she never called her that. That was the end of it. Days later, my daughter came to me saying she couldn't find her iPhone after looking everywhere. She asked me to call her number, and I did. My wife and I were stunned to discover that the iPhone was ringing inside our housemaid's bag. I had a confrontation with the housemaid immediately, and she denied and cried, saying she never touched the phone, nor had any idea how it got there. I noticed my daughter calling her a thief repeatedly, so I told her to stop and go to her room. I checked the indoor camera before continuing the argument, and saw my daughter place her iPhone inside our housemaid's bag. I was livid. I apologized to our housemaid and gave her the rest of the day off. I then showed the video to my daughter and she was absolutely speechless. I said what she did was immoral and straight up offensive to tamper with that poor woman's livelihood over a petty party she couldn't go to. I told her she was grounded and will have to spend the night in the backyard. She's a germaphobe, but she cried begging me to not make her sleep with the dirt, insects, and hot temperature. I refused to discuss it or I'd make it 2 nights. My wife said I should go easy on her, but I said calling people filthy and accusing them of stealing wasn't okay. In fact, it was the absolute worst. I then went through with my punishment. The reason I chose this punishment was because of the fact that my daughter says she is a germaphobe and used this as excuse to insult others' hygiene and appearance. Our backyard has dirt and bugs in it, and this kind of things get her uncomfortable. But other than that, the backyard is 100% safe. Question: why doesn't she clean up and do house chores as punishment instead? Because I've already tried this punishment before and it didn't work. Because she deliberately stopped eating for days to get out of it, and ended up in the emergency department for low blood pressure. Not stay home, but you should give your housekeeper a week off with pay and make your daughter take her place, unpaid. This is the appropriate discipline. Go online and print out websites for military boarding schools out of state that take females. Tell her if she doesn't straighten up immediately, there will be consequences. Then call the applications department and put it on speakerphone. Also, make sure she knows the day she turns 18. You don't owe her anything. She better be a good person or she can't support herself. I'd make her do the housemaid's job for 2 weeks, but pay the housemaid for the work. You are not day to come down hard on her though and knock it on the head. This is an excellent punishment. I'd also go with giving her a flip phone for a good long time. Not stay home. Your daughter deserves a DEFCON 1 level punishment. That's a messed up crap she did. That said, I'd probably pick something besides making her sleep in the backyard. Too temporary, too unusual, too easy for her to make herself out to be the victim. It's both too much and not enough. Spend 1 weekend per month of her grounded without phone year picking up trash on the side of the road with her. Yes, you suggested good alternatives. The punishment should be constructive and educational. Picking trash and volunteering is effective. It's unacceptable to falsely accuse the housekeeper of stealing, and she has to endure the appropriate repercussions subsequently. You're the a-hole. Your child has obvious issues if she's willing to starve herself as a tactic. Have you tried therapy? Or anything other than straight punishment? Pete's sake. If she really is a germaphobe, that's a real medical condition. And by forcing her to sleep outside, you are being an emotionally and physically abusive a-hole. And yes, it's physical mistreatment as well. Disgusting. Next story. Am I the a-hole for only paying for a portion of my son's college, even though he had money from his dead brother's college fund? I, female 58, will always be a mother of my twin sons, Thomas and Sam. In the summer after they graduated when they were 18, Thomas passed away. I can't begin to explain how broken I was. At that point, Sam had already accepted an offer to go to an Ivy League school. My husband and I had about $100,000 each saved up for the boys. But Sam's school was so expensive that the money wouldn't cover it. Before Thomas passed, Sam was fine with taking out student loans to cover the rest. Then we lost Thomas. Less than 2 months after it happened, Sam asked if he could have the $100,000 that was set aside for Thomas. I lost it on him, but I told him that it was Thomas's money and not his, and it deserved to go to Thomas. But this is where I might have been the a-hole, because Sam could have used that money, but he didn't get a cent of it. To be fair, my husband and I didn't get a cent of it either. We donated it all to various charities against drunk driving in memory of Thomas. That was all about 10 years ago. Sam took out student loans, but he is so young and already a very successful lawyer. I believe he's paid most of the loans off by now, possibly all. If it matters at all, my husband and I contributed a significant amount, about $50,000, to his law school tuition as well. I thought we were past it, but the other day Sam brought up how unfair it was for me to refuse to give him Thomas's money. We had a tearful argument over it, and now I just don't know what to think. If I could do it again, I still don't think I would give that money to Sam. Does that make me an a-hole? Edit. Because some people are confused about the way I worded things, here's a better explanation of the money. We had 2 separate college accounts for the boys. Each account had $100,000 in it. After Thomas passed, Sam still got the $100,000 he always knew he'd get. He just didn't get the additional $100,000 from Thomas's account. We never took money away from Sam. We just didn't give him any extra money that he wouldn't have had if Thomas had been alive. You're the a-hole, although I'm sorry for your loss. Your living son is grieving too. His life was forever affected by his brother's loss. You could have supported him and made it easier by helping him financially, but instead you made it clear that his brother's memory is more of a priority to you. Surely, Thomas would have wanted that money to help his brother. If I was your remaining child, I would have been so heartbroken. If I'm reading this right, they gave him $150,000 already, and they're an a-hole for not making it $250,000? Really? I don't think they are a-holes for not giving the money. It's the way they lashed out at their son that's so awful. They worded it in such a bad manner. That's the a-hole part. Let me ask, if you were reeling from your son's death and the body wasn't even cold and your other son asked for his money, would you feel happy/elated? You're pretty pissed off that your sons, their brothers, funds were more important to the other twin. Mild, you're the a-hole. Look, I get wanting to donate it to different charities. There's nothing wrong with that. But you should not have lashed out at your son like that. Your wording is horrible. You could have said, we want to donate it in Thomas's name, to people who have suffered like he had at the hands of drunk drivers. And that would have been okay. Your son wasn't an a-hole for asking the money, and you were not an a-hole for denying him. But the way you did it was awful. You should sit him down and apologize for the way you reacted back then. You did not need to lose it on him like that. That wasn't a question. I think Opie knows she was the a-hole for doing that, but she's just asking if she's the a-hole for not giving him the money. You're the a-hole. Why would you tell your son that his money deserved to go to his deceased brother? How does that make sense? $100,000 to an anti-drunk driving charity seriously just seems like they threw the money away in my opinion. $100,000 to college is productive. Throwing money to bloated charities that tell people not to do the things they already know not to do just sounds like a waste to me. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my girlfriend not to eat so much? I know the title sounds bad, but this is a pretty specific situation, so please hear me out. I, 26 male, have been dating a woman we will call Ashley, 26 female, for about 3 months. Ashley grew up financially well off and relatively privileged, and it has been a point of friction in our relationship with her not understanding/grasping the level of poverty I and my family grew up with. It is also relevant to this story that Ashley is a heavier person. It is a very vocal advocate for body positivity and will very assertively and stand up to anyone shaming herself or others. The other person who is relevant to this story is my grandma, 70. My grandmother is a wonderful woman, but she is both very proud and very broke. She likes to have us over for dinner and is an excellent cook, but financially she can't really afford it. She refuses to take any money from me or anyone else and won't let anyone bring food, saying it's her responsibility to take care of the family. She also takes offense if you turn down the invitation. About a month ago, we had dinner with her and Ashley liked the food so much she went back for second and third large portions. This is not done in my family. We all take a single small portion, as the leftovers are what my grandmother has to eat for the week. So Ashley taking more meant my grandmother didn't eat for the next couple days. After the dinner, I explained this to Ashley, and she was shocked. I tried to bring my grandmother food, but she refused the charity out of pride. My grandmother has invited us to dinner again this weekend. Before we went, I tried to have a discussion with Ashley, reiterating my grandmother's financial situation and asking that she try to only take a single smaller portion so my grandmother can have food for the week. I said we could go eat again after the meal if she was still hungry. Ashley got very angry at this and said she will not be shamed for her eating. She will not limit her food, and that no one other than her decides when she's had enough food. She also said I was fat-shaming her. This whole ordeal has highlighted a lot of incompatibility issues, and I don't know if the relationship is going to last, but just want some other opinions on if I'm the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for asking my girlfriend to limit her eating? Edit. A lot of people are asking why I didn't tell my girlfriend before the first meal. To be frank, I didn't think of it. It hadn't occurred to me that someone would go to someone else's house and eat 2 days worth of food in a sitting. Oh, I was ready with the judgment with the title and first paragraph, but not the a-hole. She could eat before or after. You're not shaming her. She just doesn't care about grandma. That's not a great quality. Agreed. If she doesn't care about an older lady who is being very kind and generous, warning there, then she should at least care that it is an important person to Opie. Additional warning. All the way around, it sounds like it's all about her and nobody else matters in the least. It also sounds like she has some past shaming issues that she's going to take out on people, regardless of what their actual intention was. I agree. It sounds like no matter what Opie says, she's going to see it as shaming. But her world doesn't revolve around Ashley, and she definitely lacks some empathy. This is not about her at all. This is about Opie's grandma. Opie, my grandmother, is also a very proud lady who would not accept money or food. But she would accept a dinner invitation. Would your grandma accept if you invited her to your place or a restaurant to have a nice meal? That way it doesn't have to sound like charity. You could put it as returning the favor and having family time. She's literally taking food out of your grandma's mouth. The fact that she still has an attitude after you explain the situation? She's a massive a-hole. Not the a-hole. Dump her. Agreed, but also wondering why grandmother is so proud that she would rather not eat than allow her family to help her out. There comes a point where pride borders on stupidity. If your grandmother is so proud, how do you know that she won't eat for the rest of the week? Your grandmother is an adult who chooses to serve a certain amount of food and seems to get a lot of pleasure from feeding her family. It sounds to me like you are simultaneously fat-shaming Ashley. The issue has nothing to do with her weight. Why mention it? And infantilizing your independently living adult grandmother. You're the a-hole, in case that wasn't clear. Read this back to yourself and realize how stupid it sounds.
I offered to let my mom live with me, under the exact same terms I lived with her as a teen. I don't know why in God's good name my mom thought I would be the one to come to, as we don't get along. I went to live with Dad at 16 because she told me she hated me, and then kicked me out. My older brother, the golden child, I know for a fact has a spare bedroom she could sleep in now that she's losing the house. My mom's situation is entirely her own fault as well, which makes this all the more annoying. She and my stepdad bought a 7-bedroom house 10 years ago, right after she left her job of 20 years to work at some stupid startup that was out of business only 3 years later. My stepdad spent the last years of his miserable life bedbound because he ignored every doctor telling him to stop shoving his face full of food at every waking moment of the day. So he died 500 pounds and in misery. I was more than fine with this, by the way. Well, when he died early this year, it pretty much drained the last of the money my moron of a mother had remaining, and now the bank is taking the house back. So she shows up at my door for some reason. After mistreating me since I was a kid, and ignoring me unless she wanted something since she married that thankfully dead land whale, she had the nerve to ask to live with me. It's only me and my husband in our 2-bedroom house, sure. But that spare bedroom is his office, the basement is my art studio, and the couch in front of the fireplace is for our lovely cats. There is no room for the wicked hag anywhere in this house. But I knew this opportunity would never come again, so I told her she could live with us, if, and only if, she decided to follow the house rules. All electronics were to be turned off by 6 p.m. If she was caught with any after that, they would be taken away and sold at the next yard sale. Bedtime was 7:30. If I caught her up, I would take away all of her clothing for the week. She may only shower for 5 minutes once every 3 days. All chores must be done the moment she wakes up. If I roll out of bed and they are not, she will not be getting meals for the day. She must make sure she is alert at all times if I and hubby need something done. It is to be done at that moment, or else she will lose her bedding privileges for the night. She will be in charge of cooking one meal each day that I choose, and if it is not made to my liking, she will not be allowed to join us and instead will eat the cheapest frozen meal available. I will be reading all her mail, text messages, and emails. I will give her the ones I deem acceptable communication under my roof. Her car will be my own personal travel car. She will also drive me wherever I want. She will still have to pay for gas. And, last but not least, if at any point she displeases me, I will be calling my brother up to pick her up from a nearby gas station. I will get to choose what she takes to put in a torn-up backpack before dropping her off without looking back. She called me a monster, told me these conditions were inhuman, and asked if I was insane. These were the exact conditions I lived under for years as a teenager. The exact conditions she tormented me with for years, until she finally let me go live with the one parent that loved me. And these would be the conditions she would suffer under if she dared to ask me to home her worthless joy-sucking soul. I don't know where she went after she stormed out of my house, but my brother called me and told me that I have the biggest balls in the family for the stunt I pulled. From the sounds of it though, none of the spawn want the broodmother to live with them. I hope she finds a nice park bench to stay on. Now for the comments. Did she recognize those terms, or did you have to remind her where they came from? I'm sure she did. She reveals in the fact she can remember petty arguments and mistakes from 30 years ago. She would never admit to it though, because that would prove that she was always a horrible mother in person. Parents like this always acknowledge what they did, but then follow up with some BS like, I did it because I care, and you're too selfish to see how much I love you. Gaslighting at its core. I wish my stepdad has said the reason I was treated horribly was because I was never good enough for basic decency. They straight up didn't like me, no excuses besides that. Savage, 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 like holy smokes. Poor you. As a mother, I don't see any benefits from those rules for my children. Hope you had some therapy after, and I hope you know that that's not okay. You're awesome for telling your mom those rules. Not cruel in a single way. I love it. Your house sounds cozy. I've talked a few therapists' ears off over the years lol. I lived with my dad for 4 years after I left hell on earth. It was a night and day difference. There is no reality that treating a child like that is okay. But it's okay to taunt a monster at her lowest in my opinion. Wow, sounds like she got what she deserved. 20 years ago, I had just gotten married. My wife and I went to stay at her sister's place for a week. They insisted we stay in separate bedrooms. My wife told me quietly that they were worried we might be intimate in our room otherwise. A couple of years later, they wanted to come and stay in our place for a week. We had bought a place in the city. I said sure, no problem, but they must stay in separate bedrooms. They were outraged. My wife asked me to please let them stay in one, but I refused, and they chose not to stay with us. I approve of your choice. Please tell me you reminded them of when they treated you like children lol. No, but I reminded my wife, and I am sure they got the message. Jesus, they perpetuate the issue by not recognizing, acknowledging, and apologizing for their ridiculous behavior when they made that request of you originally. If they simply got to the, I'm sorry that was dumb, then I'm sure you'd let them stay in your spare bedroom and everyone could leave this in the past. What babies? Maybe next time. You're right. If they'd have apologized, I would have let bygones be bygones. Everyone makes mistakes. But getting all iffy about it confirmed that they thought it should be one standard for us and another standard for them. F that. Next story. Update. The man baby is finally facing the music. Original post. My brother is 31 years old. In his time on Earth, he has not had to lift a finger to keep any of his needs met. He dropped out of college after less than half a semester because he could not bother rolling out of bed before noon to take the car our parents got him to class. He's worked a combination of 2.5 months in his entire life. He lost his first job at a Dairy Queen because he swore at a mother over the drive-through speakers, and lost his second because he got caught stealing from the till of a family-owned restaurant. He has spent the last 8 years rolling out of bed at 2 p.m. to do nothing but play video games and troll Discord servers to find someone just as pathetic as him to hang out with. It does not help that he's an annoying, violent, self-centered brat who would push my parents in front of a bus for the thrill of the dopamine hit. My parents always tried their best with us. They gave us everything we ever needed in life and then some. They have always been more than understanding to all of their children. For me and my 2 siblings who are worth something, it led to incredible performances in academia, well-paying jobs, and an amazing start to our adult lives. I wish I could commend them for the 75% success rate, but they have allowed the man baby to sit in his cradle and make demands for 31 years too long. And now they find themselves with an overgrown toddler who sits in the attic, playing Valorant all day, while cursing my mom out when she dares to ask him to clean up the rotting garbage he spreads across his room. Last year, Dad had a stroke, and he is now at a point where he needs 24-hour care from a professional. My mother is burned out. She retired when Dad had the stroke to take care of him, and it's done more damage to their relationship than 33 years of marriage could ever do. It does not help that they are perpetually harassed by the child, demanding his dinner be delivered to him while he screams at teenagers over the internet. All my human siblings and my parents have been talking for months now about solutions. At the beginning of the month, we decided Dad is going to a care center. Mom will sell the house to move to a 55-plus community close to Dad, and the man baby will hopefully find a box with an internet connection. Mom and Dad have always protected him, but my guess is the stroke finally woke them up to the reality of the situation. Yeah, it sucks, and they are to blame for allowing him to get to this point. But there comes a time to cut your losses and admit you messed up and move on. It's a shame that all of the man baby's siblings, including myself, hate his guts. None of us care what happens to him, and it's interesting to say that out loud, now that I think about it. I got the privilege to be there yesterday when he got the news. Mom's going to be moving in with Sis till the house sells, Dad's going to the care center next week, and movers will be clearing the place out starting pretty much now. He has a month, and the eviction process is already rolling. The non-emergency line already knows that his temperamental and violent behind has been served, and is ready to respond if he does something stupid. Oh, and our firefighter neighbor will be over in only a few minutes if he needs himself put in gear on short notice. It was wonderful. His meltdown was legendary. He actually stomped his feet and screamed that it's not fair, said he was going to sue us all, screamed in an elderly man's face saying he wants to kick his butt. He demanded to know what we were going to do to help him find a place to live, how much money we were going to give him to make sure he didn't end up on the streets. Asked what he's supposed to do about the fact he was saving his money to buy a new graphics card. He somehow still does not understand exactly what he is now facing. He's now not talking to Mom or Dad. He's locked himself in his room since last night, and only comes out to use the restroom and take food from the pantry that will not be filling itself anymore. It's great as my brother is staying there and working remotely to make sure he does not try anything, and to update me and my sister on the man baby's tantrum. I'm looking forward to the next month. It will be the best reality television I've seen in a while. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Sounds like my uncle. He told us he's waiting for my grandparents to die so he can keep the house. Joke's on him though, because my grandparents will, says the house is going to my mom. That was my uncle. He was furious when he found out that my grandmother not only deeded the house and property to my mom, who has now deeded it to me 20 years later, but that my mom was now her financial, legal, and medical power of attorney, and the gravy train had ended. He tried to scream about suing her. Mom simply told him she would see him in court over the fraud he committed in Granny's name. That shut him up. How can someone hope that a loved one will die just so that they inherit something? How do they not see this as disgusting and abhorrent behavior? Some people will even kill for it, such as the case of Joel and Lisa Guy, who were unalived by their adult baby son when they decided to retire early and stop providing money to him. OP's parents should be very, very cautious during this time. They are in a harmful, trauma-bonded relationship with a toxic person, even though it's their own son. And just as in any harmful relationship, when one threatens to leave, that's when the violence happens. Please keep us updated. I had a sibling like this, and when my mom finally put her foot down and said no more, it was the best thing in the world for him. He got off his butt and become a functioning member of society. I hope the same happens for your family. I wish my mom would say no more to my sister. She just keeps getting taken advantage of. Recently, my mom vented to my sister that she was annoyed, and my sister said she was done with her. After my mom let her move back in, and has lent her approximately $4,000 and co-signed on her car that she doesn't pay on time. Not to mention she watches her kid for her all the time, because she leaves them home alone to go out all the time. We're all fed up. She is extremely entitled and ungrateful. Why are people like this? I'm the oldest sibling, and I have a brother who's always lived off my parents. Please promise to update us because I know there has to be so many others in this situation. Kinda why I came here, to be honest with you. I've been waiting so long for the pin to drop about this. Others deserve to share the good news. Quick update. The man baby has not gotten violent, luckily. He has made everyone's life a living hell, however. He says he's found a place to live though, and says he'll be out by the end of the month. Now for the full update. Hello again everyone. I never expected my last post to get popular, but it was a pleasant surprise. Anyways, here's the update. So, after where my original post left off, not much happened at first. The man baby sulked and gave my parents the silent treatment until both of them moved out of the house. He had a bit of a tantrum when he realized that my brother would not be buying groceries for him, and he would, gasp, have to spend his computer fund to feed himself. After mom moved out, I think that's when it hit him that this was happening, and no amount of sulking and complaining would stop the eviction date from coming any closer. He had a massive tantrum a few nights after mom moved out. He blew up the family group chat demanding we help him find a place to live and give him money for a deposit. I responded with a gif of a laughing cat, and my sister blocked his number. He and our brother got into a fight, but like I always thought, he was too cowardly to actually do anything, so he sulked to his room. Skipping every little petty and childish thing he did over the month, he in the end did find a place to actually live. He started to do Uber to make some cash while he claims to look for a job. We'll see how that turns out. Anyway, from what I understand, he knows someone locally that he plays video games with, and the guy hooked him up with a cheap place to live. And when I say cheap, I mean cheap. I ended up offering to help the man baby move to his new place, and got a first-hand look at the crack house he's now living at. He's living in a room above the garage, in a 3-bedroom, rundown crack house straight out of Compton. The place has fiber internet though, which was the must-have feature for my brother apparently. I didn't get a single thanks for helping him move, and he demanded I buy him lunch afterward. I left him hungry. Anyways, we'll see how long this lasts, as the man baby still seems to insist on not getting an actual job, and thinks that if he begs me and my family for money, he'll get by. He apparently has already nearly depleted his graphics card fund, and is blowing my mom up asking for $1,000, so it seems to be going well for him. He did ask me for money when I was helping him move, and I told him that McDonald's is always hiring. He scoffed and told me he was too good for that. I guess we'll see how long that lasts. Anyways, the man baby has left the building. Too good for McDonald's lol. Has a total of 2.5 months of work under his 31-year-old belt. McDonald's might be too good for him. As a 34-year-old with absolutely no motivation, serious mental health issues, and a family to feed, fast food employment has been my saving grace. I will forever be grateful for a job, any job, that pays enough to survive. It sounds like you've got some motivation, my friend. You show good character. Many years I've been there, offered shift supervisor and assistant manager roles, refused them all. I'm happy being a little nobody on the line. It's enough. I, 33 female, often feel like a failure because my older brother is married with a house and my younger sister graduated college and traveled to exotic places. Meanwhile, I have no health insurance and can't bring myself to cut weed out of my household budget. Then I read about people like this and realize I'm pretty damn alright. I've paid my own rent for years and didn't really need significant help until these last few months. And even when I go running to mommy and daddy for help, I've still got the decency to realize what a gift that kind of support is lol. I'm 31 and feel very similarly to you. No health insurance and an expensive habit. But look at us, paying rent, holding jobs, not being terrible.